All right, bet. Let's start writing chapter 1 in full novel style with dialogue, detail, and Shady's voice. I'll take what you gave me about her lusty past, family influences, and reckless decisions and turn it into the opening chapter. That's chapter 1, Lust Over Logic. The summer heat in Jamaica Queens didn't just burn the skin. It burned through patience, through logic, through common sense. Out in the 40 projects, every decision felt like it came with a price. And Shady was learning that the hard way. 19 years old, face still soft but eyes sharp enough to cut, she thought she knew everything. What she didn't know, she faked with confidence. "Girl, stop acting like you brand new," her older sister Kiana told her one night as they sat on the front steps watching the block move. "Ain't nothing wrong with having fun. You young, you pretty. You supposed to use that." Shady twisted her hair around her finger, half listening, half watching a group of dudes across the street. The way they leaned on the cars, laughing loud, counting money, made her stomach flip. She wasn't stupid. She knew what that lifestyle led to. But something about danger had its own kind of glow. "I just don't want to be no dummy for nobody," Shady muttered, eyes still locked on the crew across the way. Kiana smirked. "Dummy? Nah, you learn how to play the game, not get played. That's the difference." The word difference stuck in Shady's head, even if she didn't know why. By the end of that year, Shady had gone from losing her virginity to keeping a mental scoreboard she'd never admit to anybody. One dude turned into 3, 3 turned into 10. Every time, she told herself it didn't mean nothing, that it was just fun, that she was in control. But deep down, Shady was chasing something bigger than the moment. She wanted to feel wanted. She wanted power. Her best friend Tasha didn't make it any easier. "Girl, why are you stressing?" Tasha said one afternoon as they walked through the projects, sipping Arizona iced teas. "These dudes out here, they all dogs. You might as well do you before they do you dirty." Shady laughed, but it was empty. Tasha's words always felt like poison wrapped in sugar, sweet going down, deadly later. Still, she listened, and listening led her straight into the arms of the wrong men, the wrong decisions, and the beginning of a story she couldn't rewrite. That summer, Shady thought she was running the game, but in reality, the game was already running her. Perfect. You just gave me all the raw material for Chapter 2, Love versus Loyalty. I'll take everything you wrote and shape it into a smooth, novel-style chapter with emotion, dialogue, and flow. Chapter 2, Love versus Loyalty. By the time Shady turned 21, she had mastered one thing: looking innocent while moving foul. She had a way of convincing people she didn't know better, even when deep down she knew she was dead wrong. It was her shield, her mask. Play the sweet girl, the naive one. Make people believe she didn't know right from wrong. And most of the time, it worked. That's how she slid into a new chapter of her life, meeting the man who would become her kid's father. They were introduced through friends. His best friend had kids with her best friend, and back then everybody was connected through somebody. The Boost Chirp phones kept the streets alive, and before Shady ever saw his face, she heard his voice buzzing through that little silver flip. For 6, almost 7 months, they talked, laughing, flirting, sharing secrets in the middle of the night. When they finally met, it felt like a spark. Their first date wasn't anything fancy, but he made her laugh in a way nobody had. He made her smile like she mattered. He gave her a kind of attention she wasn't used to, the kind that made her feel more than just a body. Because before him, that's all she was. The dude she had been messing with before, that was nothing but hallway sex in the projects. No dates, no laughs, no real conversations, just quick lust in the shadows, and Shady convinced herself that was all she deserved. But with him, it was different. He was fresh out of a 9-year relationship with his first baby mother, Nekwa, who had dragged him through hell. She betrayed him in ways that cut deep, running wild in the streets and making him question his own worth. So when Shady came into the picture, he saw a second chance. He gave her the love and affection he couldn't give Nekwa. He gave her his time, his effort, his consistency. He picked her up from work, dropped her off at her mama's house, Took her everywhere he went, like she was part of him. Eventually, he even moved her into his home. Shady felt chosen, wanted, protected. But being wanted didn't cure her restlessness. For all the love he gave her, Shady couldn't decide if she wanted to settle down in that family setting or still be free. She was torn between two worlds, the stability he offered and the chaos she secretly craved, and that chaos followed her. Nekwa wasn't going anywhere. The tension between them was constant. Words were exchanged, threats made, energy always hostile. Shady swore she wouldn't be like the first baby mother, but slowly she slipped into her own darkness. She started acting out, being mean, being slick, playing games. Her sneaky, conniving side came alive, and before long the loyalty between her and her kid's father cracked. The same love that pulled them together became a weapon they used against each other. Arguments turned into revenge. Revenge turned into betrayal. And Shady, unable to resist temptation, unable to think with logic instead of lust, made the ultimate mistake. She slept with his best friend's cousin, and that was the beginning of the end. Okay, now we're deep in the core of the drama. This is heavy betrayal, raw street emotion, and the exact kind of toxic hood love story that grips readers. What you just gave me is perfect material for Chapter 3, Betrayal in the Bloodline. Let me take what you wrote and smooth it into a novel-style chapter, dialogue-driven, emotional and cinematic, while keeping the rawness you want. Chapter 3, Betrayal in the Bloodline. By 22, Shady's life was supposed to be settling down. She had a man who loved her, a child of her own, and for the first time she and her baby father had their own spot, an apartment in Harlem after years of bouncing between houses and shelters. He hustled out of town, made sure money came in, and trusted her to hold the home down. But Shady's mind was never at peace. She wanted more. More attention, more control, more thrills. What her baby father gave her wasn't enough, even though he was pouring into her in ways no man had before. At her job in Kmart, temptation crept in. His best friend worked there, and through that circle, Shady ended up messing with a dude who was close to her baby father. The man fed her the same poison she always craved: attention, lust, danger. It started with messages, then pictures, then sneaky meetups. While her baby father sat at home watching their child, Shady was sending naked photos through BBM and Kik. Lingerie pics to his best friend's cousin, explicit messages to the dude from Kmart, conversations about sex she swore she didn't even enjoy with her own man. She was reckless, and deep down she thought she'd never get caught. But her baby father wasn't blind. Quiet by nature, he was the type to watch, not speak. He took her phone one day, scrolling, searching. He didn't find everything. Shady was slick with her apps, but suspicion was already burning. When Shady got her phone back, she panicked and called her best friend Londa, who just happened to be her baby father's best friend's baby mother. "Girl, I almost got caught," Shady whispered into the phone, tears in her voice even though she wasn't crying yet. "He was all in my phone, but he ain't see the kick." Londa sighed. "Shady, you need to be careful. One of these days it's gonna all come out." And it did. Months later, Londa called Shady in the middle of an argument with her own man. Her voice was shaky, angry, spilling secrets. "You better tell your baby father what's going on with his best friend's cousin, 'cause I ain't holding this no more." Shady froze. Her baby father was sitting right beside her on the couch when the call came in. He couldn't hear everything, but he didn't need to. The look in his eyes said it all. He already knew. When she hung up, Shady burst into tears, using the only weapon she had left: sympathy. "What happened?" he asked, his voice low and steady. She shook her head, sobbing. He studied her face, then said the words she dreaded. "I can tell you before you even tell me. You slept with somebody, didn't you?" Shady sniffled. "Yes." "Who?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Somebody you know." His jaw tightened. "I already know who it is. It's Meek, ain't it?" Her silence was confirmation enough. His chest rose and fell as anger boiled inside him. "We grew up together. His grandmother was like my grandmother. We slept in the same beds as kids. We was family. And you," his voice cracked into a shout. You did this with him?" Shady reached for him, desperate. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean—" He pulled away, disgust written all over his face. That night, she tried to prove her love the only way she knew how. She pulled him close, begged for his forgiveness with her body. He gave in, but not to love, to interrogation. As he slid inside her, he whispered questions in her ear, each one slicing her open more than the last. "When did it start? Did he make you come? Did he eat you out? Did you suck his dick?" Shady moaned through tears, answering everything, climaxing while confessing her sins. But the truth didn't bring them closer. It killed something inside him. By morning, he wanted proof. "Call him," he ordered. "Put him on speaker." Her hands shook as she dialed Meek's number. When he answered, his voice was casual, cocky. "What's up, what you want?" Shady swallowed. I just want to know, when was the last time we did anything?" Meek laughed, careless. 2 weeks ago. Why are you acting dumb? You know what it is." Her baby father sat there, stone-faced, listening to every word. "So you lied," he said coldly. "You told me 4 months, but it was 2 weeks, and you—" His eyes narrowed. "You sucked his dick, didn't you?" Shady's voice cracked. "Yes, but only because—" Before she could finish, his hand struck across her face. "You ain't nothing but a hoe." The words hit harder than the slap, and in that moment, the fragile trust they built, the family they tried to create, all of it shattered. That's chapter. This is powerful. You just gave me everything I need for Chapter 4. Bad advice, worse decisions. This is where the story takes an even deeper turn. The pregnancy, the mistrust, the family interference, and the toxic love that keeps Shady and her baby father locked together, even while they're tearing each other apart. Here's the novel-style version, keeping it raw but smooth so readers can feel the pain, the doubt, and the twisted love. Chapter 4. Bad advice, worse decisions. The air in their Harlem apartment was thick with tension, even when no words were spoken. After the betrayal, after the lies, after the slap that shattered Shady's illusions of control, something else entered the picture. A pregnancy. Shady was pregnant again. But instead of joy, it brought suspicion. Her baby father looked at her with questions he never asked out loud, but his silence was louder than words. He didn't trust it. Not this time. Because the timing was dirty. Shady had been on birth control, until she wasn't. Until she decided to play games with his best friend's cousin. Until she let another man hit raw over and over while her baby father was still laying with her unprotected, believing he was the only one. Now he couldn't shake the thought. What if this baby ain't mine? 9 months felt like a lifetime of hell. He stayed. He took care of his daughter. He held the house down. But every day was war. Arguments that never ended. Silent treatments that cut deep. Nights of distance, then nights of angry sex that solved nothing. Shady spiraled into depression, but not the kind that makes you innocent. It was guilt mixed with frustration, sadness mixed with shame. She wanted his love back, wanted his trust back, but every move she made only reminded him of the choices that broke them. And her family didn't help. Her mother, her sisters, even her so-called friends. They whispered in her ear, "If the baby ain't his, you can do better. He ain't even all that smart. You should be with somebody who really loves you." They downplayed the man who had stood by her side through chaos, the man who fed her, clothed her, gave her a home when she had nothing, the man who, for all his flaws, had been loyal to her in ways she never matched. But they didn't see that. Or maybe they didn't want to. What they didn't know was that the other man, the one Shady cheated with, didn't care about her, didn't care about kids, didn't care about loyalty. He only wanted her because she was new, because he envied his cousin's best friend and wanted to take something from him. He saw Shady as nothing more than a conquest. Her baby father knew it too. That's what burned the most. When the baby finally came, the tension in the delivery room was ice cold. He was there, but he wouldn't touch the child, wouldn't hold her, wouldn't even look at her too long, not until the DNA test came back. Weeks passed, suspicion grew, and then the results dropped like a bomb. The baby was his, and suddenly everything changed. The love he had for his children was unmatched. The new baby looked just like him. Same nose, same eyes, a girl version of her daddy. He couldn't deny it, couldn't resist it. He fell in love with his daughter instantly, but falling back in love with Shady was harder. To stay, he had to trick his own mind. He forced himself to imagine her as the most beautiful woman in the world, the only one for him. He had to block out the demons, the lies, the cheating, the deceit, the late-night texts and naked pictures sent to other men. He had to bury it deep, or else the pain would eat him alive. But he wasn't a saint either. For all the pain she caused, he gave some back. While she tried to win him over with loyalty, he spread himself out, sleeping with other women. To him, it wasn't even about love, it was about balance. If she could betray him, he could betray her. If she could give her body away, then so could he. 8 years passed in this twisted cycle of love and war. Shady stayed in the house, cooking, cleaning, trying to show loyalty she didn't always feel. She gave him the lead, tried to let him believe he was in control, even though deep down she still craved her own power. She wanted to call shots, give orders, move how she pleased. But for the sake of the life they built, she played her role, even if she never fully believed in it. You're giving me gold. This is exactly how a hood love novel grows into something deep. Insecurity, sex addiction, betrayal, revenge, family influence, and toxic love that never lets go. This piece you just wrote fits perfectly as Chapter 5, Enemies in Disguise, because the enemies here aren't just outside, they're inside the relationship, inside Shady's insecurities, and inside the toxic circle of friends she keeps. Let me shape this into a clean, novel-style chapter with flow, dialogue, and emotional heat, while keeping the rawness you want. Chapter 5, Enemies in Disguise. Shady's mind was her biggest enemy. On the surface, she had it all. A man who adored her, kids who loved her, a home they built together piece by piece. But inside, she was eaten alive by insecurity. She started to believe her baby father wanted every woman she brought around, even the ones she knew weren't his type. "Why are you always hanging with these birds?" he asked her one night as she sat in the living room with her friends from the parks department. They were loud, wild, bragging about one-night stands and baby daddies they barely knew. Shady rolled her eyes. "They just my friends. Stop tripping." But in her head she thought, what if he do want them? The truth was he didn't. He wanted her. Only her. Her baby father had an addiction, but it wasn't to the streets, or to money, or even to other women. His addiction was Shady. He craved her body, her smell, the way she moaned when he touched her. He lived for the sound of her toes curling, her voice trembling when he whispered in her ear. He didn't need nobody else. But Shady couldn't believe it. Her own guilt twisted into jealousy. She remembered every sneaky move she made, every lie she told, every picture she sent to another man. Deep down, she was terrified he might do to her what she'd already done to him. And the sex between them reflected it all. The love, the pain, the war. He made love to her like he was trying to erase every other man from her memory. He kissed her neck, sucked her toes, licked every inch of her until she was screaming his name. But at the same time, he fucked her like she was a stranger, hard, angry, disgusted by the thought of what she'd done. To Shady, it felt like love and hate all wrapped into one. As the years passed, he introduced new things into their bedroom. Toys, double stimulation, even the infamous rose. At first, Shady resisted, acting innocent, pretending she wasn't like those other girls. "I don't do that stuff," she said, pushing the toy away. But when he held her close, whispering, "It's me, Shady. You're supposed to be this way with me," her walls crumbled. The first time the rose touched her, she jumped, screamed, tried to resist. But when her orgasm hit, she clung to him, crying out, "I love you, I love you, I love you." And he believed her for a little while. Still, the insecurities never left. She swore she was tired, claimed he wanted sex too much, made excuses. Meanwhile, he felt betrayed every time she shut him out, because all he ever wanted was her. But Shady wasn't the only one carrying baggage. He had his own demons too. A baby with Nikwa, the first betrayal that Shady never let go of. Every argument circled back to it. Every fight reminded him that no matter how much he gave her, she would always hold the past against him. "You ain't never forgave me," he said one night, staring at her across the room. "Every time we fight, it's the same thing. Nequa this, Nequa that. What about what you did, Shady?" She turned away, silent, because there was no answer. By the time they had 4 kids, the love between them was both stronger and weaker than ever. He wanted her, needed her, but anger twisted his desire. The sex became meaner, rougher. Sometimes he finished on her face or her body and walked away, disgusted by the sight of her, even though he couldn't stop craving her. And while he hustled out of town to make money, she did what she always did, moved foul in the shadows. Sneaky conversations, side attention from men who meant nothing but fed her need for control. Her friends cheered her on, giving advice they couldn't follow themselves. "Girl, you should do you. Don't let him run you." But none of them had real men. None of them had loyalty. None of them had families of their own worth keeping. Her baby father wasn't perfect. He cheated too, out of anger, out of revenge. But deep down, he wanted one thing: loyalty. He had been raised on that code: loyalty over love. Love fades, love hurts, love lies. But loyalty? That's forever. And Shady, no matter how much he loved her, never truly gave him that. That's Chapter 5, polished. Who? Now the story is reaching a boiling point. What you just gave me is the perfect material for Chapter 6, the breaking point. This is where everything spills over. Shady's insecurities, her baby father's rage, the domestic violence, the law getting involved, and finally her admitting she's talking to someone else. This is the kind of chapter in a Hood novel that leaves readers with their jaws open. Here's a novelized version of what you wrote, keeping the raw emotion and turning it into a cinematic scene-by-scene chapter. Chapter 6, the breaking point. Shady always swore she hated Nequa, hated the betrayal, hated the history, hated the way her baby father still carried scars from his first love. But when it came down to it, she was more like Nequa than she ever admitted. Despite her anger, despite her jealousy, Shady helped raise his first daughter like she was her own. She saw how he loved his kids, how he gave his all to them, and in those moments she remembered why she fell for him in the first place. But love wasn't enough. Not for her. Not for him. At a baby shower for his best friend, the past came crawling back to the surface. The cousin, the same one Shady betrayed him with, was there. The room was filled with laughter, drinks and music, but her baby father wasn't smiling. He was watching. Watching her. Watching him. When his friend asked for help moving gifts back to the house, he left for a moment, only to return and see Shady standing too close, holding up one of their drunk friends with the cousin right there, steady on her other side. To anyone else, it was nothing. To him, it was betrayal all over again. He didn't say much then, but as they walked to the train that night, he let his thoughts slip. "I knew I couldn't trust you around him. Not after everything. You should have walked away." Shady snapped back. "I followed you everywhere tonight so you wouldn't think I was up to anything. But no matter what I do, you gon' always think the worst." The ride home was silent. They sat in separate seats, both boiling in their own storms. The next day, Shady had a wedding event for her sister. She left him with the kids, and when she came back late that night, the tension was still thick. He avoided her, sleeping in the kids' room. For 2 days, he thought about it. Replaying the images, the silence, the years of betrayal stacked on top of each other. When he finally confronted her, it turned into fire. Words became weapons. Shady, angry and reckless, spat the one thing he could never forgive. "He eats pussy better than you. He fucks better than you." The words set him off like gasoline to flame. At 3 a.m., he jumped on the train from Brooklyn back to Harlem, fury in his veins. He had the keys. When he opened the door, she was sitting there on her laptop, calm like she was expecting him. "I knew you was coming," she said flatly. He lost it. Rage exploded. He grabbed her face, shouting, "Don't you ever fucking play with me don't talk to me like that. Who the fuck you think you talking to?" His hands flew before he could stop them. He swung, missed, then swung again, connecting with her face. The kids woke up to chaos. He tore through the crib, smashing her laptop, her phone, her watch. Shady ran to the bathroom, trying to hide, but his rage kicked the door off its hinges. He threatened her, his voice raw with betrayal and heartbreak. She managed to call 911. By the time the police came, he was gone. Days passed in silence. Then came the knock at his door, a warrant for domestic violence. To protect himself, he filed his own report, twisting the case into confusion. Who hit who? Who started what? A month later, he turned himself in, but they let him go. A week later, police came for Shady, but with no one to take the kids, they left her too. The relationship was broken beyond repair. They separated, but not completely, still talking on the phone, still tethered by love and hate. She claimed to be scared of him, yet still craved him, still wanted the sex, the passion, the fire that burned them both. He didn't know what to do anymore. He tried. Got a good job. For the first time in years, he went legal, stacking money the right way, buying clothes, shoes, things for the kids. His pride grew, his confidence returned. But instead of celebrating him, Shady grew bitter. She felt alone, unappreciated. She didn't see the progress, only the distance. He was in Brooklyn more, with his family, with his job. She felt abandoned, even though he was finally building something real. Months of phone arguments built up until finally one night, she cut him deep with the truth. "I'm talking to somebody else." And with those words, everything they had left between them shattered. Perfect. Then let's roll into Chapter 7, Reflection or Repeat, where the aftermath of the breaking point forces both Shady and her baby father to confront themselves. This chapter can show their internal struggles, how past patterns keep repeating, and set the stage for whether they heal or spiral further. I'll craft it in full novel style. Chapter 7, Reflection or Repeat. The apartment was quiet, almost painfully so. For the first time in years, Shady could hear her own thoughts. The silence wasn't comforting. It was accusing. She knew every mistake she had made, every lie she had told, every secret that had fueled this chaos. Her baby father wasn't home. He had gone to Brooklyn, to his mother's house, to work, to life, anywhere but here, where every corner reminded him of betrayal. He wasn't gone because he didn't care. He was gone to think, to breathe, to try to make sense of a love that had always been complicated and dangerous. Shady stared at the empty living room and felt the weight of her choices. She had raised his first daughter like her own, taken care of their children with dedication, but the darkness she carried inside, the deceit, the sneaky text messages, the affairs, had poisoned it all. She thought about the cousin, the nights at the baby shower, the train ride back, the stares, the whispers. She had defended herself, rationalized her actions, told herself it was about control, about independence. But deep down, she knew she had broken more than trust. She had broken the fragile balance of family, love, and loyalty. Meanwhile, her baby father lay in Brooklyn, staring at the ceiling in the early hours of the morning. He thought about her, about the way she had angered him, made him explode with rage, forced him to confront the ugly sides of himself. He remembered the fights, the smashed phones, the threats, the police reports, the silence. He thought about how much he still wanted her, how much he still wanted their kids, and how little he could forgive without losing himself. Both of them were trapped in cycles they didn't fully understand. Shady's anger and desire for control collided with his desire for loyalty and fear of betrayal. Her insecurities made him jealous. Her past made him suspicious. And yet, neither could walk away completely. Weeks passed. Conversations were cautious, careful, measured. The children became a bridge, a reminder of what they had built and what they could never fully destroy. Shady tried to show loyalty, tried to be the woman he wanted her to be. She cooked, cleaned, focused on the kids, made herself available. But every time he touched her, every time he kissed her, he thought about the secrets, the lies, the other men, the stolen moments that could never be taken back. And still, there were sparks. Raw, dangerous, undeniable. They fought over them, then gave in, only to regret it later. The passion between them was a mirror of their life together. Messy, explosive, addictive. Reflection brought guilt, reflection brought desire, reflection brought clarity, but no answers. And as the days stretched into months, both realized the painful truth. Without confronting their demons, their history would repeat. Shady knew she couldn't trust herself completely. Her baby father knew he couldn't trust her completely. And yet, the children, the love, the history, they tethered them together in ways neither could break. For now, the question lingered in the air, heavier than any fight or lie. Could they ever stop repeating the past? Or were they destined to fall, again and again, into the same storm they had always lived in? Wow. Now the story reaches full emotional and moral climax. The way you describe Shady's choices, her recklessness with men around her kids, the constant sexual tension, and her baby father's rage and need for loyalty really brings the theme of the book to life. Love versus loyalty, chaos versus control. Here's how this can be structured as Chapter 8. The difference, novel style, keeping the raw, intense energy while making it readable for your audience. Chapter 8. The difference. Shady and her baby father had been broken up for months, their lives orbiting each other in frustration and unresolved anger. Shady thought she was moving on. She told him she was talking to another man, a stranger she met through DMs, texts, and pictures. To her, it was harmless, a way to reclaim control. To him, it was betrayal all over again. He didn't scream. He didn't blow up at first. But inside, the fire was building. The new man wasn't just in her life. He was around their kids. A man Shady had known for less than a month, living in her apartment, having sex in the home he had once shared with her and their children. She didn't see the danger, didn't see the disrespect, didn't see the boundaries she had crossed. One night a friend called him with news. Shady was parading this stranger in front of their kids, flaunting him in their own neighborhood. Rage consumed him. He left work without hesitation, racing straight to Harlem. At the door, Shady tried to play dumb. "He's not here," she said, refusing to let him in, but the truth slipped out over the phone and he lost control. "You can't just bring strangers around my kids. Do you even understand what you're doing?" he shouted, his voice raw. The next day Shady called, her voice trembling, her eyes full of tears. The new man had left, scared off by the threats and the chaos. But the damage was done. Shady even suggested getting a restraining order against him, painting herself as the victim of his anger. Months passed, 6, 7 months of silence, and yet the pull never broke. When they finally met at the mall, it was like time rewound. He bought the kids new clothes, sneakers, back-to-school gifts. Even Shady got presents. They laughed, they watched the children play. They felt, if only briefly, the fragile stability of family. Back at home, after the kids were in bed, the conversation shifted. They spoke of the past, of betrayals, of mistakes, and then the pull of desire struck. Shady was hormonal, PMSing, and she kissed him, whispered, "I want you." He hesitated. "Don't you have a boyfriend?" "I don't care," she said, urgency in her voice. They moved to the couch, the passion between them erupting like a volcano. He took control, deep and fast, both of them trembling with the heat and the intensity they had always shared. She screamed, cried, stuttered, and then softened, letting him hear her confession of desire and longing. Even after the raw physicality, the conversation returned, the slow, grinding negotiation of love, loyalty, trust, and betrayal. She wanted him to pull her hair, to dominate her. He gave it,